you. Dr. Yogi Narayan is a retired Uttar Pradesh cadre IAS officer from 1965 batch. He is the chairperson of the organizing committee GCTC Defense and Security Conference 2021. He is a patron of GCTC. He is a chancellor of Hemwati Nandan Bahuguna Garhwal University. He has been former Secretary General Rajya Sabha and former Defense Secretary, Government of India. I would like to welcome Sir on this esteemed forum and requesting him to deliver his keynote address.
Good morning to all of you, ladies, gentlemen, and all the participants to this conference. I would first of all like to congratulate GCTC and its founder convener Aditya Tikku for taking the initiative in organizing the Defense and Security Conference post-COVID-19. The naming of this conference is significant, as the COVID crisis has certainly impacted national life and also led to new forms of international cooperation, which certainly affect our defense and security policies. The fact that COVID-19 started from Wuhan in China and the country of its origin tried to hide this fact till it became too open to hide caused a rupture in the international order. It also caused apprehensions of fear of development of bioweapons, of which we must be very careful about. New threats are emerging, and the world is getting more diabolical. The latest is the use of drones in warfare and also by the terrorists. When Winston Churchill spoke to his people during World War II, he talked about fighting in air, on land, and the sea. But today, some major new elements have emerged, namely cyber threats and space. Recently, there was a report that a hacking group was able to break into Microsoft and access some of its source codes. This breach has given cyber spies access into some of the most sensitive US government agencies, namely the Pentagon, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Energy, Department of State, and Department of Treasury. Russia has been accused of hacking the headquarters of the Democratic Party. This poses a big threat to India, as China can also disable our ships on sea, our aircrafts in air, our nuclear-tipped missiles, as well as our defense platforms on land, which are all dependent on computer chips for their functioning. Cybersecurity must go right up to the top of national security and defense, and shoring it up, taking it on emergency basis. Software from well-trusted sources can be the medium planting trojans in the target system. Our cybersecurity managers can take no piece of software from any company for granted. Everything should be treated as suspect unless tested and verified. As far as space is concerned, China has shown its ability to shoot down satellites, posing a danger to world communications. It is preparing to build its own space station and send its cosmonauts to the Mars and the Moon. Control of space will be a threat to the entire world community. It is strategically appropriate for India to have its own space command soon to counter this threat in a coordinated manner. With India becoming a member of the UN Security Council, its foremost strategy should be to persuade the nations to accept a rule-based world order. The UN should not allow any country, whether it is China, USA, or Russia, to violate what is laid down in the rules once they have been accepted as part of an agreement. When the UNCLOS Arbitration Committee decided the maritime boundary issue between Bangladesh and India, we accepted it. On the other hand, China has refused to accept the judgment of the International Court of Justice regarding the South China Sea. USA also, sometime back, 6 months back, unilaterally walked out of the Paris Agreement on climate change and had also stopped funding the WHO. Of course, that has changed with the coming of the present US president, but the threat of walkouts of international agreement is a big source of worry. Russia unilaterally absorbed Crimea in its fold by show of force. If the powerful countries walk out of international agreements in this manner, it would be difficult for the world to maintain the international world architecture created after the Second World War. India must realize that it has to rise and develop on its own strength. It cannot always depend on the strength of its friends. In the 1971 war with Pakistan, it was the USA which sent its aircraft carrier to the Bangladesh waters to threaten the Indian armed forces. In 1998, it was USA which led a vicious boycott campaign against India because of the nuclear bomb testing. All developed countries want to retain their exclusive domination. They only respect those nations who are strong on their own. If India is to defend itself, it must eventually do so on its own might and the valor of its defense forces. However, as it will take time to develop itself militarily strong, India must go in for joining international groupings like the Quad. Such groupings would help against a common enemy like China. It is after a long time that India and Japan have come together as part of the strategic movement to contain China in the Indo-Pacific region. With the presence of Australia and the USA, this has become a powerful group in the Indian Ocean region. It becomes possible to contain the powerful Chinese Navy and to keep a watch on the movements of its warships and submarines because of the combined strength of Quad. India's strategy must also be to keep close friendship with the ASEAN nations. As China continues to expand its territorial claims on the South China Sea and the territorial waters of some of the ASEAN nations, India must give all help, military and otherwise, to these affected nations to help create an anti-China bulwark. The recent Indian initiative in Vietnam some months back and the signing of 7 agreements with that country is a forward-looking step in controlling China. And I must not forget the importance of defense manufacturing. A key element in our defense strategy should be to become self-reliant in manufacture of arms and defense platforms. Domestic manufacturing of bigger and complex defense platforms should be the focus of the policy under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Apart from the upgradation of Tejas, DRDO should be asked to expedite India's under-development 5th generation fighter aircraft. The construction of submarines and one more aircraft carrier needs to be speeded up. The Defense Ministry has rolled out its strategic partnership plan. The Indian private sector should be encouraged to participate in major military manufacturing projects in all segments of defense production. The list of defense items banned for import should be gradually increased, and the Indian private sector should fill the gap in collaboration wherever necessary with the technology from abroad. Similarly, the targets set for the export of India's defense products should be met. Lastly, I would like to mention the 15th Finance Commission has recommended the creation of a non-lapsable modernization fund for defense and internal security. This should be expeditiously implemented so that there is no shortage of funds for upgradation and modernization. Withdrawal of US forces from Afghanistan and the growing friendship between China and Iran, a major oil supplier to India, is another cause of worry for the defense strategists. We need to build up our oil reserves in India to adequately meet the needs of our defense forces. To conclude, as India grows to become a global power, it must continue to forge new relationships and make its presence felt both in the Middle East and West Asia, as well as countries bordering in India like Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and Afghanistan. Our diplomacy has played an effective role in the past and should continue as a strong partner of defense to do so in future. Diplomacy, we must remember, is a very powerful force multiplier and a valuable asset to our defense forces. With this, I wish the conference all success, and I would be keenly awaiting the recommendations of the various committees that are set up or the various recommendations made in various sessions. Thank you very much.